Okay, let's look at some CSS properties. And so far we've gone through most of this, and there's tons of properties here. Actually, there's way more than this. This are just the basic ones that I'd like you to know. And I'm going to look more at the backgrounds and box model and show you a common kind of layout technique. So let's get started with Replit. I'm logged in. I'm going to go to my repos here, go into my HTML CSS folders, and I'd like to make a new REPL. And it's going to be HTML CSS, and we're going to call this fixed width, actually centered fixed width layout. What a name. Okay. So layout is a very complicated thing in CSS, and I'm just going to show you the most simple and versatile layout that you can use. And if you really love web design, when we get to the project credit at the end, you can do more with that. Okay, so let's just start by generating, well, actually, we don't need this script tag. We can get rid of that. Like I said, we'll use that when we have JavaScript. These meta things are just information about the website, what kind of character set to use, and when we're on mobile devices to use the device width. So we can leave those in. That's not a big deal. I'm going to hit that auto format, and let's just get some content in here. I'm just going to do some dummy stuff. So in H1, my heading. Maybe after that I'll have an HR. Then maybe I'll have an H2. Heading 2. Actually, it's not really a heading 2. It's another heading, but it's like a subheading. And then we'll have a paragraph with a /p, and we'll put some text in there. And I'm just going to do this lorem ipsum. It's often used for dummy text, placeholder text. So I'm just going to copy and paste some of this. Copy and paste. Wonderful. Then maybe I'll have another H2. Yet another heading. And I know I got too many capitals in there. I don't care. Okay. Paragraph. Let's take a little bit less this time. Burp. Something like that. Copy and paste. And I got to remember to end my paragraph tag. Great. Let's just save that. And we've got some content. Okay. And I'm going to open this up in a new tab here as well. So you can see that this stretches all the way across. And like, you know what, it looks better if it's narrower. That looks okay. We're used to reading things a certain width. So what I want to do with my CSS is get it so that it stays a fixed width and centers it. Okay. So there's a couple ways to do this, but let's start with this. We're going to need our CSS. And what I'm going to do actually, oops, I'm zooming in. What I'm going to do actually is select my HTML. And remember, HTML is the root element. And I'm going to tell my root element to have a background color. So I'm just going to go background, and I can do any color. I'm just going to do gray for now. Oh yeah, I got a garbage truck in the background here. Anyway, background gray, and then what I'm going to do is my body, which is where all the visible content is, and I'm going to go background white, and we'll hit run on that. So what we can see by doing that, and actually if we go here and hit refresh, you'll see that the HTML, the root element, is gray, and the body just holds all of the content, and it's got that white background. And the body by default has some margin, right? The browser has some default styling on things. That's why these headings are bold and a little bit bigger. So we can play around with that. We could say, hey, body, actually, let's go margin 0. And that sets margin left, right, top, bottom to 0. And if I go back here and refresh, you'll see that it's set that to 0. Now, not on the top because there's something weird with the margin of the heading that goes over it, but we'll fix that in a second. Okay. So let's start with the first thing here is let's get some padding. And that's actually going to fix this problem here. Is on the body, I'm going to go padding, which gives me some distance between the border and the content. And a common thing that I do for padding, you can do individual like padding top, padding bottom, but there's a shorthand. And if you do two numbers, the first number is for, let me remember, top and bottom, the next number is for left and right. So I'm going to go like 20 pixels top and bottom, and 100 pixels left and right. And if we hit refresh on that, you'll see now we've got the padding top and bottom, and padding left and right. Cool. Next thing I want to fix is the width of this whole thing. Okay, so for the width of the body, let's just go with maybe 500 pixels, 600, something like that. Refresh, and that looks a lot nicer, right? The content is more not stretched out as far, a lot easier to read. But what I would like is I'd like for this whole thing to be centered, right? The whole thing to be centered on the page. So to do that, a common idea is go text align center, right? And hit run or go refresh. And wonderful. So that's great. It centered everything within the body. I actually want the entire body to be centered on the page, not centering everything inside of the body. So to do that, we need margins, right? Margins are the distance outside of an element. So I said margin 0 here, but watch this. If I go margin 50 pixels, what that'll do is put 50 pixels on all sides. Now you can't see it on this side, of course, because there's nothing there to push away, but it's got 50 pixels margin now on all sides. And actually, if I open this up and inspect, click on this, you can expect elements, right? All that green is, oh no, that's the padding. The margin is all this orange stuff on the outside, right? So the 50, 50, 50, and then it extends to the edge of the page on this side. Okay, so what I can do with margin in CSS is I can do the same thing as padding. I can do two numbers, top and bottom I want to keep as 50 maybe, but I want to give it a second number or a second value, and in this case the value is auto. Okay, and with auto, what that does is it basically, well, let's just see what it looks like first. And let's close this. What auto does is it says, hey, left and right margin, I want you to take whatever available space was left, and I want you to automatically balance it left and right. So this is really nice because what you can do with this is that my content, no matter what size of screen whoever's viewing this website has, they're always going to see this centered content. It's always going to be the same width. If I resize this, right, you'll see that it just automatically balances the extra margin and centers it. Okay, and then if I get too small, it doesn't squish everything. It just says, oh, you know what, your screen's not big enough, so this would not be good for mobile devices. But as I get bigger, someone has a wide screen, they'll just see more border, all the content will look the same. Okay, so that's kind of the standard layout that I expect you to do on your assignments and on your projects. And really, it's not that bad, right? Give your HTML a background, give your body a background, and it's all about the margin, padding, and width. And we can get rid of that now. Control X to get rid of that. Okay, cool. I got a little bit of time left in this video, I think. Let's just look at backgrounds here. And for a background, maybe instead of just a color, we could do an image in the background. So for that, I like to use pixabay.com, free images. And there's a bunch of sample ones here. Let's just look at background and see what comes up. Ooh, fun. You know, let's just pick something plain like this. Paper old texture. Cool. So I can click on that. It gives me a chance to do a free download. You can choose the size that you want. If I choose a large enough size, it'll cover the whole screen. You know, I'm going to choose a smaller size. This one might actually cover the whole screen too, but we'll see. One thing that's important with web pages too is you don't want you want quality images, but not super high, because then it's going to take a long time to load. Okay, so that has now downloaded here. I'm going to show in folder. So that put it into my downloads. And what I can do now is I'm just going to create a folder here, an IMG folder. And we're going to drag this paper blah, blah, blah. Let's actually rename that. Paper BG background. And I'm just going to drag that into the image folder. Okay. And very simple, instead of background gray, what we do for a background image is you go URL. URL stands for Universal Resource Locator, something like that. And then inside of here, I give it the path. So I need to, I'm in my index or my style.css. I need to look inside of the image folder So in quotations, I go img slash and then paper bg.jpg. Hit run, refresh here, and you can now see that's that background. Cool. Okay, and we can do some stuff with, I often like to do this, border radius. 25 pixels is a common value I use that just rounds the corners a little bit so it looks a little nicer. And sometimes for the background here, I like to do RGBA. So RGB is red, green, blue. So this is a white, 255, 255, 255 is white. And the alpha value is like a transparency. So it makes it a little transparent and you can see the background through it. But your text is still easy to read. Okay, there you go, backgrounds. Now, sometimes this background looks like it might be repeating, like there's a line there possibly, but if you look at, where is it, advanced backgrounds here, down, scroll down, scroll down, scroll down. This is one of my favorite things to do, a full-size background image. And you just apply these styles here. You add a no repeat, center fixed, and a background size cover. And it takes your image and stretches it to fill the entire page. And then it won't, your content will scroll over top of it. Anyway, I'll let you play around with that on your own. Okay, that's long enough for this video. Like I said, there are lots of different properties you should use, different font families, font weight styles, the idea of margins and borders. Oh, we didn't even do borders. Here we could do that quickly on this. I did border radius, which you could do border 1 pixel solid gray. Right, and you get a little bit of an outline, a border on there. You can change the sizes. Like I said, all that stuff is here. Just click on the link and it gives you some notes on how to do stuff. Okay, so I think that's the end of the crash course. We're now going to do some sample projects, some code along examples together where we're going to put these skills together and build a couple sample web pages. And then the exciting part, eventually we'll take these web pages and we'll add JavaScript to them so we can actually start making some programs. And the HTML and CSS will be our user interface, our graphical user interface. Okay, hope that made sense. Take care and we'll see you in the next video.